success, wealth, recognition. Gary Cooper had it all, lost it all, then turned a revolutionary discovery into the success paradox. Here's Gary.
My guest this week is Scott Shawyer, and he's got quite a story. He's preparing for one of the most grueling challenges in all of sailing, a solo transatlantic race from New York City to France. The crazy thing is Scott didn't grow up in the offshore racing world at all, instead spending over 20 years as the CEO of an industrial engineering company. Scott, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Gary. It's great to be here.
Man, this is exciting. It's not very often I get to talk to somebody who's literally going to sail around the world. What's incredible is you're a sailor. This isn't like your profession, right?
No, that's right. I was 25 years in the engineering business, running an engineering company, and sailing's always been a passion of mine, but it has turned more into a profession as of late.
You know, one of the things that I like to do, Scott, is I like to talk to people about, I had a guy on and he crashed in the Hudson River.
Okay, yeah.
Everybody wanted to talk to him about that, but he was also the CEO of the Discovery Channel.
Okay.
And a lot of people want to talk to him about that.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk to him about how the hell did he become the CEO of the Discovery Channel from a small town in South Carolina?
Right, yeah.
That's a cool story. How did you get to be in a position at your, fairly early age to say, you know what, I'm going to go conquer something crazy? You had a day job before this, right?
Yeah, so I'm a mechanical engineer by training. That's what I went to school for. And very soon out of my university experience, I joined the company that I was with for 25 years called J&P Solutions. And it's a manufacturer of automation equipment, robotic systems for manufacturers in a bunch of different industries. I had joined the company and then made commitments to buy out the owners out of future earnings, and they were looking to sell, and so did that in the early 2000s, and then grew the company up until a couple of years ago. We had 15 locations in Canada and the U.S. and a few hundred people doing automation systems for companies in a variety of industries across North America. And I was looking for a financial partner to come in and help me fund some more growth. And this was in 2020, and we were in COVID, and I was on the phone and Zoom calls with private equity groups from New York and other places. I think it was a time in Canada where we were literally in a COVID lockdown, like you weren't supposed to leave the house. I live in a town called Collingwood, Ontario. It's 2 hours north of Toronto. We have a mountain in the front yard and a lake in the backyard, and I hadn't been outside in weeks. And I've been dealing 12, 16 hours a day with these New York private equity guys. And I happened to catch the start of this race that happens every 4 years, the Vendee Globe. And the skippers, this is a race, it's a nonstop, unassisted race around the world in one of the fastest monohull sailboats that sail the oceans. And I watched the start of this race, and the skippers were walking down the docks wearing their masks. And then they got onto their boats, they stripped off their masks, and they cast off to sail around the world. And I'm thinking, like, this is the ultimate in freedom. They're getting on a boat and going to sail around the world. And the juxtaposition where I was in my own personal hell, if you will, dealing with New York private equity, not leaving the house, I thought, I'm 50 years old. What have I done to myself? There are guys out there doing that. And then there are guys doing what I'm doing. Like, I feel like I'm in the wrong place right now.
That was the seed you got planted?
That was the seed right there, yeah. So I started to look in. I'd known about the race. I didn't know much about it. I started to look into it, kind of appreciated, the enormous challenge that it was, and started to look into whether Canada had ever done this. It's largely European.
Right.
And I found that no Canadian had successfully completed the race. There was a gentleman that attempted in 1996, and unfortunately he didn't come home. There was a gentleman that attempted it in 2006, and he flipped his boat south of New Zealand and had to retire. And so no Canadian has ever finished the race, and there are no Canadian programs that were currently in play to even go after it. I started digging in a little bit more, found out that it's kind of like Formula One on the ocean. The teams they're very professional teams. They're very well funded, big companies behind them. Takes a lot of money, and it's not just one guy in a boat. It's one guy in a team of 30 behind them. I mean, it takes I have 4 people full time to manage the boat and maintain it, and you've got a commercial team and a marketing team and and on and on and on. And so then it had a business side that intrigued me as well. And I thought, if there's anybody in Canada that could go after this, it used to be it could be a young skipper that just kind of cobbled together some money and bought a boat. It's way beyond that now.
The reason I'm smiling is you said the guy didn't come back. What the hell does that mean?
That means he was lost at sea. They had trackers on their boats that would ping a satellite every so often, and one day his tracker went off. It stopped reporting, and he stopped communicating. And
this isn't like horseshoes. Like getting close doesn't win you anything. Like
no,
it's for real.
Yeah, it's for real. There are no safety nets really.
And you got eBurbs and all that kind of stuff that will send location but a chopper's not getting out.
No, a chopper's not getting out. I did my first transatlantic with on this boat with a crew of 4 other people, and we got out offshore. We were only gone a couple of days, and someone said, "Hey, we're past rescue range." And I said, "What does that mean?" And they said, "Well, a helicopter really only goes about 600 miles. We're now 1,000 miles offshore, and so you can't nobody's coming to get us." And it kind of sunk in that, a helicopter doesn't have the range. An airplane can come by. All they're going to do is wave at you and drop a bigger life raft. An airplane can't stop and get you. So, you need to be able to get yourself around the world.
Damn, that's pretty scary, man. Are you still the managing partner of a private equity firm?
Yeah, that's something I'm starting up right now. It's interesting. You have a business, and it was my major investment, my major asset, and you can track it every day. You're really intimate with it. And then all of a sudden you cash out of it and you put your money into the public market or something that you have no insight in. So I really don't enjoy that. So I'm trying to find places to invest money that I can be a little more hands-on with and understand it a little more.
I want to get more to the boat in a minute, or the journey and all that. But one of the things that struck me, I was watching your YouTube video with a guy that was interviewing you, and he did the rapid round thing. What was striking me, and there's going to be a lot of people that perhaps listen to this, there's a lot of people that are driven. You're obviously very driven. And then, I've had some success. You sell your company, and then you're like, what am I going to be when I grow up?
Right.
You and I are similar ages. I'm 52. You've had some success, and then that internal drive is still on. There's no off switch. Well, I'm not going to circle the globe in a monohull by myself.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people struggle with that. Do you think it's part of your drive, whether it's the private equity firm or whether it's circling the world? Extremism is part of what people like me and you and other CEO types have. Do you think it's just part of, I'm not going to call it disease, but do you think a lot of us have that and it's hard to turn off? Do you think that's part of why you're doing what you're doing?
Yeah, I think so for sure. I mean, I had a bit of I guess I'd say an existential crisis of sorts when the company came in and gave me a check. And I kind of realized that the last 25 years boiled down to this piece of paper that puts numbers in a bank account. Like, it just seems so, I don't know. I know there was meaning in it. I helped a lot of people have families and buy cars and houses, and we employed a lot of people and gave people great careers. But it just seemed like, okay, that chapter's done. Now what? Like, now I don't have a reason to get up in the morning almost. What am I doing?
Like your identity was changed.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. And it's funny, I have friends that say, Scott, like, what are you doing? You could be sitting on a beach drinking margaritas every day. And it was just not me. I mean, once in a vacation, sure, but my view is you're here for a certain amount of time. You might as well do what you can, experience what you can. I enjoy it, right? I don't, it's not, to me, people see stuff like this and they think it's stressful and a lot of work. Well, I get a lot of energy from it and I really enjoy it. And it's why I get out of bed in the morning. If my life was drinking margaritas on the beach, I might not even get out of bed some days. It's just
Yeah, I
not
don't
worth
think
it.
you'd live too long. And that's
Right?
kind of what I got out of that interview. And when I was thinking about it, I'm like, is he doing this for, it didn't feel like vanity. Then it felt like, is he doing it for Canada?
Yeah, I mean, there are lots of reasons to do it. I mean, I think at the end of the day, I'm doing it for me. They all end up coming back to me. Like I'm doing it to, part of it's to show an example to my kids that you can do anything you want to do. Like you can sign up for stuff, you can stretch yourself, sign up for stuff you're not comfortable with, and see how much you learn. And if you only get halfway there, hey, you still got halfway there. But at the end of the day, that is still a kind of a me reason. I wanted to do it for a cause as well. And so we've got a water positivity message that we're trying to promote to have people just be aware of water scarcity and that not.
Tell me about that. What is that deal?
I had never really thought about water that much, to tell you the truth. I live here on the southern point of Georgian Bay. It's a huge body of water, fresh water. The city literally pumps water out of the lake, puts it through a bit of a filter, and sends it to my house. I can drink it and have as long a shower as I want. And so we're pretty privileged. Then I got on this boat, and I'm sailing across the ocean, and we're surrounded by water, but realized very quickly the water is useless to me on the boat until we put it through a little desalinator that we have on the boat. And if that thing goes down, we have a spare. And if that thing goes down, we're in a lot of trouble. And start to realize that not everybody in the world has fresh water in their backyard like we do. And so we were trying to come up with a cause that also allowed us to have a commercial viable platform, if you will. We're trying to raise funds for the program. And this notion of being water positive, there are a lot of companies that are pledging to be water positive, which means the idea of water positive is similar to carbon neutral, but it takes it a step further, where to be water positive, you need to be producing more usable water than you're consuming. That can be, you can view that as a mandate for a city or a region or a company. And so you have companies, I think, like some of the big companies like Apple and Amazon, et cetera, are all trying to be water positive, and that they're trying to contribute more to the communities in the way of water than they're using.
How do you do that?
There's three ways. One is reducing what you use. Two is recycling what you use. And three is actually purifying and desalinating new water. And so you could view it that, a facility could have its own water purification system that takes water from the environment of the watershed and purifies it for their use, and they share access with the community around them. They would be being water positive.
That's a really good message. I was thinking about you last night, Scott, and I was thinking about who's another person who's done extreme sports for a brand. And it's Richard Branson.
Yeah, for sure.
That's his trademark. And what a cool way to get a message out. Richard Branson used it and it was for profit. If you watch his documentary, it really was a very effective way to get his message out. So I think this is a, very effective way. I do know to be grateful that I have a roof over my head and that I'm protected and live in a place where I turn on my spigot and there's water. And I know Bill Gates has done a lot of work to get water to places and food, but one of his big things was toilets, running water toilets to places. That's a cool thing you're doing, man.
Well, thank you, yeah.
So let's get to, you threw down the gauntlet. I'm going to do the race. How hard is it to get, your body in gear? I imagine there's a lot of business stuff you got to get done. You got to get a boat. You got to get a team.
Yeah.
I don't know where you want to start in that order,
Yeah.
So you just pick.
I guess in business, I'd found that when we wanted to get into something new or a different kind of line to our business, it was a lot easier to partner with somebody who was already doing it than to kind of bring it up from scratch. And so I looked at this the same, and there's a very well-known in the offshore sailing field gentleman named Alex Thompson. He's a British sailor, and he'd been doing the Vendee Globe race and the race series. The Vendee Globe is actually the championship race of a 4-year series of racing. So they have 4 years of racing in multiple transatlantic races and regional races, and the Vendee Globe is the championship race.
That's the end of the a 4-year cycle, kind of like getting ready for the Olympics.
Right. Yeah. So he had done 5 of those 4-year cycles. He's a Brit, and he was always, his thing was, I'm going to be the first non-French to win the Vendee Globe. And he didn't. I think the best he came was 3rd, but he still, made a good run at it. And he had just announced after the 2020 Vendee Globe that he was retiring from sailing, but that he was still interested in being in the space. And so I contacted him and said, hey, I'm trying to ramp up a program. You have all the knowledge and expertise. Could I leverage that somehow? So we came up with an agreement that he would be the his group would be the management group for the campaign. And so I would be the financial sponsor and the skipper, and he would help manage it, and together we would kind of build this up.
So kind of using a business term, was that almost like an M&A or a merger kind of?
Yeah, really a partnership.
That's a better term. Yeah.
And so, it was very easy then to go acquire a boat because he knew what to look for. His team could do the testing on the boat, and it was easy to start to do the training because he had coaches on his team that could help train me. So it made a lot of that ramp up a lot easier, that's for sure. It cost a little bit more money probably, but I think we're a lot further ahead than we would be if I tried to do it on my own, that's for sure. But it's been still a monumental task. When I started this, I told him and I told my wife, I'm going to spend a week a month on this. Give me about a week of my time every month, and then I've got 3 weeks to do something else, like the private equity, travel with my wife, see my kids, all that other stuff. That week a month has probably turned into three weeks, and every week I'm doing something on it. That's for sure. I'm on the water at least a week a month doing the actual training for the sailing or doing races. And then the business side of it, the commercial side of it, there's every week we have a series of standing calls, about the boat and the maintenance of the boat and improvements to the boat, about my performance, about my development, about the campaign planning, commercial, marketing, social media. It's the whole thing. It's taking a lot of time.
Well, there's one of the questions that I had, and this was a really cool thing that you were willing to do this, because I look at this as how can you and I, give a gift to somebody who may be in the same position you and I are in. One of the things the question I had for you is, people call it work-life balance. I never knew what the hell that was. Like,
right, yeah.
Me and you were blowing and going, man. I mean, that wasn't a thing. And my wife just accepted it.
Yeah.
But now, you had that, you call it the check. Still, I don't have work-life balance. I work hard to have that,
Yeah.
But now my wife calls it, you just threw yourself into another project. Sounds like
absolutely.
You did too.
Yeah, absolutely. I did. And it's the same. I mean, it's funny because I always begrudge how busy I am, but I do it to myself, right? Like, it's the same problem I've had since I was 25 years old. And it's probably going to be the same problem I have until I'm dead. But I'm
on nonprofit boards. I'm so busy on nonprofit boards, but I'm happy,
Right. Well, that's it, right? Is it doing for you what you want it to do, and are you able to keep your commitments to others and things like that? So, as of late, this year to date has been super busy, and I'm looking forward to scaling it back a little bit later this year. I have a big race coming up at the end of May, from New York to France.
Hey,
And then after that, I'm taking a little bit of time off, that's for sure.
that sounds like a good idea. All right, Scott, hang on. We have to stop here. But we'll continue our conversation on the next episode of Success Paradox, when Scott Shawyer will talk about what happens if he gets stuck in the middle of the ocean.
The backup plan is your fellow competitors. Stay close enough to the pack that if you get in trouble, they don't have to go too far to get to you.
To learn and practice the Success Paradox lifestyle, visit GaryCCooper.com. The Success Paradox is a production of Forbes Books.